And welcome back to the revision of the leadership and management paper that was done in December 2023 by the CFA, the CPA and CCP advanced level candidates. In our today's lesson, we're going to answer question 3. Having answered question number 1 and 2, you will recall at the beginning we said that we'll be answering a question at a time. Today, our focus is on question number 3, which is in 3 parts, A, B, C. Part A reads, explain 4 triggers of change in an organization. What causes change in an organization? That's what is being referred to as triggers of change, causes of change. What makes change happen in an organization? Now, change may be triggered by internal factors. Number 1, change in an organization can be triggered by internal factors. For example, declining profits. All right? Declining, where a company consistently makes losses or profits are reduced, then that can be a cause for change. The organization may change the pricing, it can change the employees who may be brought in, others may be fired, depending on the cause of decline in the profits. So declining profits is an internal factor that can trigger change in an organization. It may even be the organization may go to the extent of having new products or offering new services in order to increase profit. So declining profit is a trigger, an internal trigger for change in an organization. Outdated technology. Outdated technology within an organization can trigger change. If an organization is using old, outdated technology, that can be a reason to trigger change. Employee dissatisfaction can be a trigger for change. Where employees are dissatisfied within an organization, that can be a cause for change in an organization, an internal. All right? Inefficient processes, where an organization has inefficient processes that leads to wastage and all that can also be a trigger for change. You understand? These are internal factors. There could also be factors related to the external world. External factors can also trigger change within an organization, like economic recession, e.g., economic recession, change in government laws, where a government changes laws, that can be a trigger for change within an organization. The government can pass a law that makes the production of the goods within the organization illegal, and that can be a trigger for change within an organization. So when there is change in government regulations, that can affect the organization, leading to change. Competitor entry. If an organization has been operating as a monopoly and there are competitors who have joined the industry, that can be a trigger for change within an organization. You may have things like shifting market trends, environmental concerns. These are external factors. Advancement in technology and so on. You understand? Change can also be triggered by leadership initiatives. Change can be triggered by the leaders of the organization. We may have, for example, a new CEO with transformational ideas. A new CEO coming in with transformational ideas can trigger change within an organization. We may also have strategic vision shifts, mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions. These are triggers of change within an organization. Then there is another category, the social and cultural factors. Social and cultural influences. Let me call them influences. Social cultural influences can trigger change. This may be changes in societal values, for example, because you recall organizations do not operate in a vacuum. The social cultural environment can affect an organization, can be a trigger for change within an organization, where the society is changing its values, where customers are changing preferences, demographic shifts, growing diversity, increased focus on sustainability, ethical practices. All these can cause changes within an organization. So candidates were to give how many? 4 triggers. I've given you very many triggers, but I've grouped them into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've put them into categories, but the candidates who gave these points can earn the 4 marks. Any of these points can earn you the 4. Is it 4 marks? Yes, 4 marks. That is part A of this question. Part B reads, describe 5 shortcomings of Abraham Maslow's theory of motivation. This is a popular theory of motivation, which I know most of you are aware of. This theory suggests that human needs can be organized into hierarchical structure, with lower level needs needing to be satisfied before higher level needs can be addressed. So the Maslow's hierarchy is often depicted as a pyramid with 5 levels. 5 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? There are 5 levels within this pyramid, arranged from the most fundamental physiological. Here we have physiological needs that Abraham says must be met first. We have the physiological needs at the base of the pyramid, followed by the safety needs, all right? Physiological needs, we have safety needs, esteem needs, coming at the 3rd level. You understand? Physiological needs, safety needs, then this should be love, sense of belonging. This is sense of belonging. Belonging, then esteem, and then self-actualization. This is self-actualization. So there are 5 layers. And Abraham argued that the lower level needs must be satisfied before the upper level needs. That means that the physiological needs, the need for food, for clothing, the basic needs must be satisfied before security needs, are satisfied. So after security needs are satisfied, then the love needs are satisfied. Then after love needs are satisfied, esteem needs are then satisfied. Then the last needs to be satisfied are the self-actualization needs. So that is roughly the Maslow's theory of motivation. It is depicted as a pyramid with 5 levels, arranged from the most fundamental physiological needs at the base to self-actualization at the apex. So the question is, what are the shortcomings of Maslow's theory of motivation? Now that was just to remind you briefly before we get into the shortcomings. The first shortcoming is that this theory is overly rigid. The structure, number one, is overly rigid. Overly rigid structure. The theory suggests a strict hierarchy where lower level needs must be met before moving on to the higher ones. However, candidates, people can pursue multiple needs at once. Maslow argues here that before you eat food at the lower level, argue that you must have food, shelter, and clothing before love needs or self-esteem needs, which is not true. People can pursue food, basic needs, physiological needs, and the emotional needs at the same time. But he argued that before the upper level needs are met, the lower level must be met, and that the motivation for upper level needs, that motivation is the satisfaction of the lower level needs. So that is a shortcoming. It's overly rigid. People can pursue many needs at once because you might crave for social connection or love even if your physiological needs are not fully met. You can crave loved even when you have an empty stomach, or when you have no clothes, or when you have no proper shelter. You could be living under a tree, but you still have need to be loved or need to love. There's also cultural bias within this theory. The theory is based on Western values, because in some cultures, candidates, social needs or esteem needs might be more important than self-actualization. There are some cultures which value social needs, like the communists and all that. And even some individuals might value societal needs over their self-needs. So the theory is based on Western values, which may not be true with other cultures. So cultural bias. The third shortcoming is difficult to measure. Difficulty in measurement. There's difficulty in measurement. It's hard to define and quantify how much a need is satisfied. Within this theory, there is no clear point where one need takes over and another becomes dormant. It's not easy to measure the level of satisfaction. This theory does also not account for regression. It does not account for regression. It does not account for regression. What does that mean? Now, the theory suggests a linear progression, but we all know that people can regress to lower needs during times of stress or hardships. Where we've had people say that they eat a lot when they are under stress. So the theory suggests a linear progression from the lower needs to the upper needs. There is no regressing. That is a shortcoming. Human nature, you cannot rule regression in human affairs. And that seems to what Maslow did, which is a shortcoming. Five, this theory ignores individual differences. The theory ignores individual differences. People have different priorities. People have different motivations. What motivates one person might not motivate another. So the theory may not apply with everyone. There are people who are not motivated by self-actualization. As long as they have food, they are good to go. As long as they feel loved or they love, they are good to go. There are people who are not after seeking self-actualization. Others do seek self-actualization. So the theory ignored individual differences. So these are 5 shortcomings of Maslow's theory of motivation. It's overly rigid. It has cultural bias, difficult to measure. Satisfaction does not account for regression. Then there is ignores individual differences. This is how many marks? Question 3. Question 3. B, 5 marks. We are now going to answer question 3C. Outline 6 ways in which a business organization could use macro environment to its advantage. Now, what do we mean by macro environment? Now, macro environment refers to the broad external factors that can significantly influence an organization's operations, also performance, and its decision-making process. Macro environment is the external environment of an organization, which can influence an organization's decision-making, performance, and operations. And these factors, these external factors, are generally beyond the control of the organization and includes various elements within the larger society or industry environment. So the question is, how can an organization use this external environment to its advantage? Do you understand the question? So it's important first to understand the question, because we always say a question well defined is a question half solved. After understanding the question, then it becomes easier to solve it. So having understood the meaning of macro environment, then what are some of the ways in which an organization could use macro environment to its advantage? The first obvious way is what we call competitive intelligence. The organization or an organization can leverage market trends and competitor analysis to identify opportunities for innovation, product differentiation, and strategic planning. Competition is a macro environment factor. Competition is outside there. The competitors are outside. So an organization can study competitors or competition and gather intelligence, what we are calling competitive intelligence. Then use that intelligence to innovate. You can use that intelligence to do what we call product differentiation. If competitors are offering the same products you are offering, then you can differentiate your products and have a niche in the market. That intelligence can also help an organization to do what we call strategic planning. So that's one way in which an organization could use macro environment to its advantage, competitive intelligence. The second way is through technological adaptation. Technological adaptation. The organization can embrace emerging technologies to streamline its operations, to improve customer experiences, and also to gain competitive edge. Because again, technological advancements are part of the macro environment, which we also mentioned somewhere here. Technology. It was under external factors, all right? Technological advancements. The organization can study what technology is providing and make use of that technology to its advantage. We have new technologies, emerging technologies, and so on. 3, environmental sustainability. The organization can adapt or adopt eco-friendly practices and embrace green technologies to align with environmental regulations and also to appeal to conscious customers and enhance brand image. Do you understand? Because environment is also out there. It's part of the macro environment. So an organization can adopt eco-friendly practices and embrace green technology to align with environmental regulations. When an organization aligns with environmental regulations, then such an organization can appeal to customers who are conscious of environmental issues. And that can give an organization an edge over competitors because of that brand image. All right? Brand image. That's the third way. Environmental sustainability. 4, diversity and inclusion. This means reflecting the changing demographics and social values in working composition and marketing strategies in order to attract talent, gain customer trust, and foster a positive organizational culture. An organization can take advantage of macro environment to its advantage by reflecting the changing demographic and social values in workforce composition. That can also be applied in marketing strategies. And the purpose here is to attract talent, to gain customer trust, and foster a positive organizational culture that embraces diversity and inclusion. That is the 5th point. The 4th point. Now, the 5th way in which an organization could use macroeconomics or macro environment to its advantage is through political lobbying. Political lobbying. This means engaging with government policies and regulations to influence decisions that benefit the organization's industry or specific interests. Political environment is part of the macro environment. And you can see, candidates, in answering this question, what I have done is to give a point on every aspect of the macro environment. The first one is competition. Is a category within the macro environment. The second one is technological environment. The third one is environmental factors. Then we have diversity, people outside there, and the political factors or environment. So these are 5 ways in which an organization could use macro environment to its advantage. 1, competitive intelligence. Number 2, technological adaptation. Number 3, environmental sustainability. Number 4, diversity and inclusion. Then last we have political lobbying. So this question has 6 marks, so we need to add another point, which obviously we can cite philanthropy. Philanthropy. Philanthropy, or we can just call it social responsibility. The organization can align with the social causes and engage in community initiatives to enhance brand reputation. And by so doing, an organization can attract ethical investors and build trust among the stakeholders. Because social environment is part of the macro environment. So an organization can take advantage of social environment by engaging in philanthropic activities, engaging in community initiatives, which may lead to enhanced brand reputation that can attract ethical investors. So this is the 6th way in which an organization could use macro environment to its advantage. 6 marks. 6 marks. So these are just some of the insights candidates here on triggers of change in part A. Then we've given some insights on the shortcomings of the theory of motivation and some ways in which an organization could use macro environment to its advantage. Thank you for attending the lesson. We've done question number 3, December 2023, leadership and management. Thank you for attending the lesson. I'll meet you in our next session where we'll answer question number 4. But before then, please attempt it. Then when we meet, we can compare the solutions on the board with what you will have done. Bye.